right, Stokastic, here we go. It is Sunday Night Football live before lock, brought to you by No House Advantage. It's the three-man booth. We're running it back from last season. It is myself. It is Terry T. McBride, and Nick Lepri, my grandson, joining us today. So this is good. He's all graduated from college and everything. This is very exciting now. Nick is now full-time here at Osmo, which is a lot of fun. So did you do a show earlier today, Nick? Did you do a special show?
Oh yeah, I was doing a fantasy football live stream. I do every Sunday in the morning, so 11:30 until 1.
Gotcha. And were you were answering more season-long type questions and such?
Yeah, and if I told any of you guys to start Damian Pierce, that actually wasn't me. Just saying.
Yeah, I've got yeah. Well, let's just leave it at that. I ran into something similar. That was my cash game running back. Dotson worked out for me. But I did not play Saquon Barkley. I went with Aaron Jones. That's not looking good. It was looking good through the early games, and then my PMR is not turning into points like all the Saquon Barkley backers are. So we've got what is it, an 8? I was just going to look at the kickoff time. I know we're going a little early tonight because we got a lot to cover and break down. What time is kickoff here? I want to say it's 8:20, but I know we always get it
8:20.
Okay, perfect. Because I saw 8:15 on 8:20. There we go. We're good. All right. 8:15 is tomorrow.
8:20 today, 8:15 tomorrow.
Yes, just anything to muck with us. We will have this conversation at least 5 more times this season. But nonetheless, we are going to get started here. I'm a little distracted. I've got a team in 46th in the Millie Maker right now, so I'm having some fun. I don't think I will have any shot at climbing much higher because there's people ahead of me have a similar number of PMR, but I'm up to $1,500 for my
nice.
I think so. I'm very excited.
Did you play a full
about
max
that.
on that, or did you just throw a handful of lineups?
I won about 27 tickets. I think I ended up winning through baseball, and I played 20 of them in the Millie Maker, and then I put 7. They had another contest that would accept them. It was like a $1.5 million prize pool. So I split those in 2, and I just made 27 lineups for it on that. So that's kind of fun. We'll see what happens there. I gotta see what am I rooting for? Well, I am rooting for, if I get up to 40th, that's $2,000. So every 10 spots basically is worth $1,000.
40th, we're not shooting for no 10 grand. We want that Millie. Let's go.
Come
on, Jack, get on EMAC's side out there, wherever you are. Bang on the table like you've seen in Major League. Come on, everybody, bang on the bar. Let's go EMAC.
EMAC, who do you have live? Like, at least tell us the players you have live.
Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, and Saquon Barkley, and Marquise Brown.
Yeah, Barkley just ran a huge run.
Amount of players to be live right now.
So we're excited. We're having some fun here. But let's talk about.
I'm at the point of my day where I flip to the U.S. Open.
Yes. Yeah. It's sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like that. All right. So we're brought to you by No House Advantage. We're going to talk about them a little bit tonight. They do have evening contests. They do have their showdown contest. We have projections up for that now. They just released, or we just posted those. They also have some prop contests as well. So we'll talk about that. If you choose, let me go over to their site. If you go bounce between, if you go to Pick'em, and then from there you can click on versus the house, is where you can see their props. They have about 10 or so for this game. So we'll talk about some of those. Those tend to be a little bit sharper, but this is week 1, right? So lines have been posted everywhere. I've noticed a lot of the sports, DFS versions of player props have had some pretty good lines. For the NFL, I think it's just kind of, they're all about the same. So what happens during the day? Well, craziness happens. Who thought, remember Clyde Edwards-Helaire, how he was never really active in the passing game? 2 touchdowns today from home. So anything can happen. But let's jump into the highlights here. We just got the inactives. So no no Randolph. Kyle Rudolph, sorry. And then
no Zach, no Randolph, no Rudolph.
Yeah, none of boy, too many sports here. And then Tolbert, I think, was the other surprise inactive. Chris Godwin is active. Tolbert's the rookie wide receiver for Dallas. He's had an up and down training camp, and for him to be a healthy inactive with as short staffed as they are, that's not a good sign for his prospects.
Yeah, you would think with Gallup out that they would want to get him out there, but
yeah, Gallup's out. Washington is out. Obviously, Amari Cooper is in Cleveland now, so a lot of changes there. We have Julio Jones is with the Tampa Bay now, so now they get real crowded there with who was it Scotty Miller that was out? Was he the inactive we were looking at?
Yes, Scotty Miller is also inactive.
So that means Brashard Perryman will now be sharing time with Russell Gage, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, and of course Evans. So we're gonna talk through all this. We're gonna do kind of what we did last year. We're gonna break down we're gonna build lineups on each of the sites, and then we'll talk about some of the prop wagers over there on No House Advantage. So now that as we're collecting everybody in, I want to say thank you for joining us on a Sunday. I know this is there's still games finishing up and everybody's got little sweats going, including me. So thank you guys for being here. Please do hit that like button. It helps us out, and you can subscribe. That would be awesome. We are marching towards 80,000 subscribers. That's going to be pretty cool. Today's free tools. We do have the premium lineup generator is free this week only. So that tonight and tomorrow, last 2 times you can use it. We have a nice offer here. You can get a full week of our NFL product for just $7, promo code SCRAMBLE. And then what's the other one? BetMGM. Only today. This is their one-day deal. They've brought back their no-brainer. If you bet, come in through our link, and we got links to all of these in the bottom of our description here. You come in on our link, and you will have the ability to make a money line wager on tonight's game. And they're going to give you $200. Basically, it's if anybody any team scored a touchdown today, you get $200. It doesn't have to be the game you're in. So you kind of already are going to get that. So those are the exciting things that we have. We will sort of kind of break some things down here. We've got the Awesome Hall of Fame. We've got a nice leisurely pace to walk us through this stuff. So, but we got to shake the rust off, fellas. It's been a while since we've done a show together. So this should be fun. Let's start off with building a lineup here. Shall we go over to the blue site, Terry? Shall we look at FanDuel?
Yeah, sure. Let me open up the old lineup builder here, and we'll get that going. That sounds like a good idea and a good way to get started.
That is the one site I haven't built out a lineup
this is your first football show of the year, right? Or have you
correct?
Yeah, mine as well. So I'm expecting Nick's just going to carry us through this until we get a feed on this a little bit.
Of course. Of course.
Lineup building we can always do, but
is there a shaky running back?
Stats like who's seeing targets and target shares in the preseason and stuff. I'm going to just kick it over to our pal Nick here because he's been paying attention to all that shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Kerryon Johnson isn't playing in this game, sadly.
So there we go. Oh, and what about Survivor Pools took it in the teeth today with a few the tie game and then San Francisco losing. They might be glad they've kept
Garoppolo
around. Okay, I'm up here. I'm in FanDuel now. We'll go into the NFL Sunday prime time. I don't see any single entries, so we'll build one in this. All right. Terry, the blue side is your site. You get to go first.
All right. So we know that we get to, do whatever we want as far as the price goes in that MVP, the multiplier spot. We don't have to worry about multiplication of salary. So unlike DraftKings, when we talk about, when we look through all the history on these shows last year, and we were talking about that, I was writing about it in the articles, we would really often see a pass catcher in the captain spot because of that multiplier would be more valuable than the quarterback, since we're not really worried about that here. And the quarterbacks are relatively fairly priced compared to some of the top end skill players. I think we could possibly look to one of those guys. I'm just taking a look now. I'm jumping over to our board and taking a look at who we have ranked as the top optimal captains, and it's both quarterbacks. They're both getting enough attention that maybe we want to pivot down to like a CeeDee Lamb, a Mike Evans. You get half the ownership, you get half the optimal probability. But just for fun, why don't we grab a share of who's the lower owned of the two quarterbacks? Dak's the lower owned of the two quarterbacks in the captain role. So I'm going to take a share of Dak here. He's 17% optimal. We get a little bit of positive leverage in the captain role with him. So let's take a start. We'll start there and we'll see where we go.
All right. You get the next selection here, Nick. Pretty much the board's still wide open. You've got, of course, CeeDee Lamb coming in at 14,000, Leonard Fournette at 13,500, Brady just 500 more than Prescott. Of course, Brady doesn't really do much with his legs. He never really did, but he is now 45. Of course, he led the league in pretty much every passing category last year. So I think he was second in the MVP or the Offensive Player of the Year vote. So Tom Terrific is back. His wife's not happy that he's back. So we'll see how that plays out. What do you like here? We got enough money for another primetime player for sure.
All right. Well, instead of going with a super primo player, we're going to go with my favorite strategy of getting a tight end, and we're going to go with Dalton Schultz of the Dallas Cowboys. Dalton Schultz looked really good last year, and honestly, since Jalen Tolbert is out and all these guys are out, could you easily see Dalton Schultz be the number 2 target? I think so. So I like him a ton.
Absolutely. And he's kind of coming in. A lot of sites have him around 5.5 catches, which is relatively high. That's good for us because that's indicating that he should have some solid opportunity here. Now, the one challenge with him is the offensive line is a bit of a disaster right now for Dallas. They're missing their left tackle. He got hurt again. Of course, let's see. So Tyron Smith's the left tackle. He is out. You've got a couple other starters from last year are no longer with the team. Let's see. La'el Collins is gone. So is Connor Williams. They brought in some draft capital to try to help them out, but it could be a little risky. The question then becomes, do we see the tight ends blocking more? And my thought is because we may see more 2 tight end sets, but they're going to need Schultz as a pass catcher. So even if they bring in and run a 2 tight end set, they're likely to just bring in another one of the other tight ends to do the blocking. So I'm pretty good with Schultz on here. All right, my turn is up. Let's see. We could probably use a little bit of salary. You know what? Since we have Dak,
offset some ownership as well if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking. So we have a 2-way path here. We can go with Noah Brown, who is kind of the next most experienced receiver on the team after CeeDee Lamb, or we could go with CeeDee Lamb. Although I think that's going to be a very popular build out here. The other option I kind of like is Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, a potential pass catcher. He has the breakaway touchdown ability that Zeke Elliott has not been able to show us recently. And Elliott's, he's 27 or 28 now. I think he just turned 27. He's got a lot of mileage on him. This is his 7th year in the league. He came in as a 20-year-old. So that's a lot of hits to take. So I am going
Nick, can you imagine what it would feel like to be 27? Oh God.
Yeah. Fucking old as hell. Jeez.
Ancient. So I have talked myself in a circle. I am going to recommend Tony
Pollard.
Yes.
I like that. I think out of the guys that you went through there, that was my favorite. The one thing that you do get, like if you decide to pay up to Zeke instead of going to Pollard on this FanDuel slate, you are offsetting a little bit of ownership. It's like 3 percentage points. It's kind of minor. What do we think of if we wanted to stay with that Dallas and stack another receiver? What do we think of Fioko in that spot, or Fahoko? I don't know how to actually say his name.
So I really want to use him over on DraftKings where he's 200. My thought over there is if he gets 2 targets and does no catches, that was worth playing him at 200, right? It was the opportunity was there for him to do something with it. Here, not as excited about that. I'd rather go like with maybe Noah Brown for 7,500.
See, that's why I bring them up. I feel like that's the natural play. That's the play that a lot of people are going to be making, a lot of hand builders out there. And it's the one that will come up a little bit more through the optimizers because he's affordable. It's only $1,000 difference between the two, and he's projected 1.5 points or 2 points higher. But you can kill 10 percentage points of ownership there on a util play, which isn't bad while staying within that stack. And he's the most relevant of those next guys, it seems like, based on how we're projecting him out. So that's why I just wanted to throw him in the mix. I was curious if you guys had a strong take on him.
Where are you landing on that one, Nick? We're going to kind of group think our last two spots here, so this will be one of them.
All right. Well, I don't really have a super hot take on it, so I'm fine going honestly either way. We can go with either Noah Brown or however you pronounce that guy's name. I don't really care.
Well, I was actually saying for that Pollard spot, I wouldn't necessarily want to stack a fourth.
Okay.
Right away. Like, I think we should at least consider our options here. I was just throwing him into the mix as like another guy, kind of playing into what you were saying about the guys that you named there, EMac.
So let's do that. I like that. Let's go with Fedoko, and then I keep putting a D in there.
We're going a little Cowboys onslaught.
Yeah,
here,
I believe it's Fedoko is his name. I don't know where I'm adding a D into that. But now we're looking at, we can go with a Mike Evans and CeeDee Lamb would be our options. That, of course, takes us back into the ownership. And in this build, we're kind of fading CeeDee Lamb, who's going to be wildly popular. We could go with Tom Terrific. If we go with Tom, we can only go to Elliott, Godwin, Gage, Julio, etc. So this doesn't feel like a good Tom Brady spot, which then if we think Tom Brady is going to spread the ball around to a bunch of people, he's going to get his 3 touchdowns, his 300 yards. Maybe we look to a Leonard Fournette. If we go that route, we could go Fournette and Mike Evans and try to capture touchdowns.
EMac, are we on a new lineup?
Yeah, the Fournette and the Evans build it. That's how we've got instead of Pollard in there.
Sorry, we swapped out Pollard for Fehoko.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was throwing me. I thought we added him after Pollard. My apologies.
I brought it up the other way around, and then I thought we were doing that as well when I started talking about a Dallas onslaught. But I think, with this lineup, if we did go to Brady there, it's not the craziest thing in the world to go Brady Godwin in tournaments, just because like a lot of people seem to be scared off. I still think there's upside in Chris Godwin. I know we're not rating him out that much, but if he's only going 10%, a couple looks in the red zone, that could be taken care of pretty easily at that point. Or you could go just kind of off the beaten path for like these extremely large tournaments and go with a guy like Perriman and just leave a ton of money on the table by going Brady and Perriman. So there's different options there. Julio's also obviously there, but I think he's going to pick up a little bit more attention than where we've got him projected. So it's an interesting spot. Nick, what are you thinking you want to do that way? Should we go Brady and look to build in a little buck stack on the back end of this, or do you want to go skill players?
Yeah, I really like Brady and Julio. Now, I know it might be like the sheep play, right? The obvious play, but it seemed like during training camp, all the stuff I've been seeing is that while Julio was allergic to scoring touchdowns in Atlanta last year in Tennessee, it seemed like they wanted to use him kind of as the tight end, the bigger bodied player in the red zone. So maybe he's able to score twice in this game. That would be my thought process with it.
What do you think on that one, EMac?
I'm comfortable with that. We're leaving 2,500 on the table. For those of you that don't want to go with Fehoko on this, I'm going to say his name differently every time, it sounds like. You have $9,000 that gets you Brett Maher, who, remember, even though he's only been in the league 3 years, I think he's in his mid-30s. He didn't even start kicking until 4 years ago. He sat out the 2020 season. He was with New Orleans last year. Dallas brought him back. I just bring that up. He doesn't have much of a leg. He doesn't attempt any from 50, and neither does Suck Up. So that's something I always look at in Showdown. I want the people to at least try some from 50 yards out. These guys don't. Now, they're both pretty accurate from 40 in, but that's not as exciting. So I'm not as enthralled with our kickers tonight. So I wanted to call that out. The other thing that's new on FanDuel this year is they didn't have defenses last year. I think they have defenses.
No.
Yes, they have defenses now. So that's a new wrinkle.
They have them now. Yeah.
Yes, they do. They have them. And so now they have the same player pool as DraftKings. So just wanted to call that out. All right. So Prescott, Schultz, Brady, Fehoko, Julio, Jones. Boom. Put that one in the $9. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's differentiated, to some degree. I don't know.
Except if you're in the same contest as me with that one.
Well, yeah, we've all got it now, but it's somewhat unique. It might be one where if you're going into like the very large contests, you might want to swap another one of those guys out and see if you get a little bit more different, a little bit more of an oddball in there. But it's not a bad lineup as lineups go. Like that's certainly a playable lineup.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna make my one alternate is I'm gonna go with Evans. What did I say? Fournette, and then we'll go with
perfect. See, that's how you do it. You bring something like that up, everybody else jumps off, and you get the original lineup, and you coast to victory.
Yep. There we go. So I'll put two of them in there. We'll just have some fun on that. All right, we're gonna move on over to Yahoo next. We're not doing our Yahoo articles this year, but we still have projections and everything. Their contest is going to at least be reduced rake. It looks like they still have they need 1,600 more in their $15. I've got my entry in there that I like, and I ended up going with we'll see how chalky this is. Damn it, now I can't get to my lineup. There we go, contest up. All right, so I went with Brady in the captain spot here, Chalky McChalkster, Leonard Fournette. Okay, he's going to be popular as well. Dalton Schultz, because, I was doing the show with Nick, so we got to have our tight ends in there. Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. So I'm just building out one lineup. In this one, we can build one together as well. This is sort of, I had a nice run last year during the playoffs in the Super Bowl. I ended up getting 4th overall in their road to the Super Bowl you played for 4 weeks. So I won like an extra $150 on that. And I had basically the perfect lineup the last two, the optimal the last 2 weeks. So I won like $1,000 each week. So nice. that was a lot of fun. I'm just doing one lineup there tonight because I've got I did a lot of sports wagering this weekend, so and was chasing some other overlays. Some worked out, some didn't.
But you're gonna win $1 million, so who cares?
Well, let's live look in on it. Nah, it looks like I'm gonna stay at 40th, so it's worth $1,500.
Looks like now. That's what it looks like now. Are the game's over? I don't
know. There's like 18 seconds left in one game.
Yeah, Arizona scored, so Kansas City's only up by 23 now. So I have a feeling Kelsey's not going to be in the game, so that won't help me. All right, so so let's start off here with I think we should start with Tom Brady at captain, is my thought here. He also comes out as one of the best point per dollar plays. Much like FanDuel, we don't have to worry about the salary multiplier here, which makes things a little bit different. That would be my recommendation, and then let's go to Nick for the next pick here.
All right, so you want Tom Brady. So Tom Brady sadly doesn't really actually have a tight end that I can pick because I don't really think Cameron Brate's very good, so that's very sad. We'll go with
Cade Otton, University of Washington, rookie. What was he, like a 4th round selection? That he's playing. He's also 200 on DraftKings. Maybe we'll go to him there. So who do you like? Sorry.
All right, I'm gonna keep it simple. Go with the layup here, Mike Evans.
Okay. I like
simple
that.
layup.
Terry, $17 a piece left. If we look at some of the discount dandies here, we've got Noah Brown at 12, Tony Pollard at 13, Cameron Brate at 11, Brashard Berryman at 10, Dalton Schultz at 20. So that's kind of the range where we're looking. If we reach up and get CeeDee Lamb, we can maneuver some things around too.
I'm guessing as I click over to the Yahoo top players, top showdown plays tool, I'm guessing it's going to be popular because of that $13 price tag. But I don't know that I can leave Tony Pollard on the table at that price. He's just too good. He'll see enough touches where he's just so dynamic in what he does on the field that he's got enough looks to get there. So at that $13 price, I think we can definitely jam Tony Pollard in there and save some money and pick up a pretty nice player.
All right. Nick, who would you like to go with?
That gives us $20 per.
$20 per. So we can play from CeeDee Lamb on down.
Do we have a good $10 guy so that we could buy a $30? There's no 25 is where we want to be really. So if we have a $15 guy, and then we can get CeeDee, we can get anybody from CeeDee down. So it's Dak at 33 that we can't get to here.
Yes. But we do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense in play at 15, which I think is interesting. And as we saw on Thursday night, even though there was a fair number of points scored, both defenses racked up a lot of points. It's early in the season. Offensive lines are having issue. Tampa Bay has been one of the best defense, all around defenses for the last 3 seasons. They've basically been in the top third of the league. Their defensive coordinators, now the head coach with Bruce Arians, getting Das Boot from Tom Brady, much like Brady's getting Das Boot, or I guess Das Boot with a heel from Giselle. So, what comes around goes around, fellas. I kind of like that double pick of CeeDee Lamb and then the defense.
The Tampa defense and then CeeDee Lamb.
Let's do it.
I like that. That works out. And that's probably an interesting way to go with it in terms of like something that, maybe not everybody would be inclined to do with taking the player against the same defense in the same 2 clicks. So I like that.
All righty. So wow. That's good. Now we're going to work on over to DraftKings. And then, guys, don't worry. We still got us for another 45 minutes. We're going to talk. We'll get into more in depth on and go through each of the teams and the player groups, just covering anything that we missed. We should have time to answer some questions. We'll talk about No House Advantage. A reminder, if you come in through our link over there, you can get a $25 deposit match. They also have prop DFS contests now. We'll talk about some of those, and then they have what looks to be some potential overlay in their let's go to their pick'em. They have another 550 spots open in their $15 contest tonight. We saw their early slate contest overlay dramatically by about 60%, so that is true value being added. I threw 5 into that one. I ended up losing half my money. That's okay, because the opportunity to get in there and take a shot at whatever I think top prize was $50,000 was well worth it. That ended up getting chopped by a few different people who ended up getting all 10 of their questions right. But how their contest works for that format is you get to go pick a series of 10 players, and then each player has multiple, usually one, and most of them have multiple receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns, or whatever, and you pick higher or lower and assign it a confidence point. So you can pick anything you want. You only can use each player once per lineup, but you can build out a variety of ways on that. So that's kind of fun doing that. We do have projections for that, and I'll have to look and see. I think we have the optimal lineups up for the night slate now for this. All right, over on DraftKings. Oh, we got to do the thing. Okay, 700 people watching. Thank you, everybody. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. We get up to 100, and I'll drop some $1 head-to-heads here for DraftKings. Team Free Money is back, baby. Team Free Money is back. We'll have some fun there. Swept the board on Thursday. Just saying. I'm due to get kicked in the teeth tonight.
Is Melissa on vacation?
I beat her. She was very sad about that. Sure. But she's already challenged me again for tonight, so we've got that battle going. All right, Nick, we're going to let you start off with the first pick over on our DraftKings build. Again, we do have a couple $200 players there in Simi Fehoko and then K. Dotton, the tight end there, and right. Kyle Rudolph is inactive, so it's just Brait and Otten at this point.
Okay, so since we've went pretty receiver heavy this whole time, we'll go with Uncle Lenny Fournette as the captain. I like Fournette a ton. I know they're talking about kind of trying to phase back some of his touches because he was really just getting the ball every single time. He was on like every single snap last year, but they might try to do that. But hey, I still think Uncle Leonard Fournette's a good enough running back to be very valuable in the slate.
I should probably take myself off mute if I'm planning on talking here. Just confirming my Sunday night ESPN baseball showdown lineup, because no slates off for me. Terry, let's go with your next selection here. We've got Lenny in the captain spot.
Yeah, I'll go with one of the plays from the Tampa side of things and go with that $200 tight end, K. Dotton there. If we don't think Brait's necessarily going to see a lot of volume, he's getting 12% ownership. This kid at 200 is getting 4%. I think we can definitely look at that play. It's not like he projects well, but if we're talking about these large field tournaments, that's a kind of tournament winning play potentially where nobody's going to that extreme value option with one of their tight ends out. I think it makes a lot of sense to consider that. So I'm going to build that in. We do have the option of the other $200 guy in Fehoko on the other side in the Cowboys, but we used him on FanDuel, and we can take a look at building him in again and giving ourselves $12,000 per position to play with that we don't need the rest of the way. So we probably don't need to go double $200 guys. So if you want to switch to Theoko, I'd be fine with that too. I just wanted to use one of the $200 guys here.
No, I like Cotton because he went to my alma mater. So that I'm sold on that one. That's easy enough. All right. Well, I still think we're going to need to go with Tom Terrific here. I know we're getting a little chalky, but it makes sense. He does, while he is the best point per dollar play on FanDuel and Yahoo, I mean, amongst the players that are, not the complete scrub-a-dubs that we're doing dart throws with, he's not quite there on DraftKings. So that could impact him a little bit. We have learned that it's usually better to not have the quarterbacks, especially the ones that don't run, as your captain. I probably will in my cash game lineup, which I see we're up to 100 likes, so I'll put those in the lobby right here. But I think we go Tom Brady here. So it's Fournette, K-Dot, and Tom Brady, and then Nick, it's up to you.
Ooh. See, now I want to get real spicy and go with Zeke here, but honestly, last time these two teams played, Ezekiel Elliott looked like he was running in molasses, so I'm not too sure that's really going to work out here.
Didn't they play week 1 last year? Weren't they?
Thursday night football kickoff.
Yeah. It seemed familiar, except obviously it was in Tampa, but.
All right. This time we'll go with CeeDee Lamb here. I know he is kind of expensive, but really this could be just a straight funnel system right to CeeDee Lamb every time because they don't have too many options to throw the ball to.
All right, Terry, we're going to go back to you here on this one.
All right, that gives us 16.5 remaining, 82.50 per spot to spend across the last two. Easily could go Tony Pollard for 64. We could take the Zeke play that Nick was just talking about at 78. First game of the season. Hopefully Zeke's got his legs under him at 26% ownership for 78. I don't love that when we can have Tony Pollard for cheaper at 64 and 20% ownership. What else could we? Let me take a look at the board here and see what our optimal percentages look like. I want to use this one wisely. Noah Brown is sitting there at a lot of leverage. He's too popular for this spot, probably based on what we've already got built in, but I definitely want to call out the fact that he's at a 30% optimal rate and only 23% utility ownership. He's coming up with a 10.4 leverage score, easily leading the entire slate. So I think he's a very interesting skill player that people should be considering, but I'm looking for a little bit of an ownership dip here. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of
so what we could do
angles to go to
is we could go Prescott and then leave money on the table with something.
What does that do for our?
So we get 6,300, and the obvious play would be Russell Gage at 6,200. If we don't do that, we consider Julio, we consider the defense, we consider a kicker, we even go.
Do you
with
think
Noah
it would be
Brown.
Differentiated? Do you think people? I mean, somebody would probably play it, but maybe not like thousands of people would play it if you just went Dak Noah Brown here. That leaves 30. That leaves 3,300 on the table. That's a big chunk of change that a lot of people aren't comfortable leaving on the table, like casuals.
Yeah, because my guess is people would talk themselves into going off of Otten and taking the Cowboys defense or something just because they can't.
Yeah. That's the spot where somebody would be like, I have this money, I can just upgrade this spot, where we're looking to specifically do something different and create a more unique tournament lineup. I think that's kind of interesting. I think that's a good call, EMac.
All right. So we're feeling sufficiently spicy, as Nick likes to say. I am going to celebrate a top 50 victory or top 50 showing in the Millie Maker. Put this in the $10. I want to put that in the 10. Yeah, look at that. I got money to burn. Please no stat corrections. Please no stat corrections.
Let me see how I finished out here. Last time I checked, I was up a little bit. Woo, look at that. We made, you're going to call that roughly like 8.5%.
Nice. There you go. I did
the exciting day that you had.
Yeah, made my largest wager of my it's actually my second largest wager, tied it. $1,000 bet on Monday or Thursday Night Football. Did not win. I had a one of those. I got the promotion on DK.
I was gonna say, is that tied to a freebie bet?
It was
or like a
no, it was it was all my money. The option was if either team led by 10, you got 10 or 7, I forget which. And it
was 7.
Yeah, it was 7. And the Rams did not do that. and I took their money line because the last time I did a bet like this, I took the favorite and they raced out, got their touchdown or whatever, and I was like, well, that sucks. I only got $600 or whatever. Right. So I got greedy. Guess what? Sometimes you lose these bets.
I did that. I decided to throw in a parlay instead of just player props in the 4 p.m. games and some baseball games today, and just got carried away with it because it was like one of those ones where like this 3-way looks really good and could potentially win. But then I'd only make like, whatever it was. Let me add another 7 legs to this bad boy and we'll really clean up now.
We'll get the 100% booster, and I made one for tonight's game with 10 legs for 10 turn 10 into 500. So
there you go.
Make your own little GPP that way. I've swung for the fences and rarely have I hit anything of substance when doing this. But gee, it looks good until
where should you look?
Until the ref blows the whistle for kickoff. It looks pretty good. And it does.
I love the card I put together. I can win. I'll tell you that right now, but
yes. All right. So now we're going to go through game by game again. So we've hit on the high notes here. We've covered most of the players, but now we're going to just go through and clean up anything that we didn't mention. I see people are saying, what are your thoughts on Godwin? We'll talk about that. What do we think about Gio Bernard, et cetera? This will give us an opportunity to kind of walk through each of these. So let me get my article up here because that's where my good notes are. So again, Godwin likely on a bit of a play count. He should be in on high leverage plays. There's no need to rush him back. They are looking to make another postseason run. It's 18 weeks, 17 games now. There'd be no reason to put him back early. There'd also be no reason to have him out there as a decoy. They don't need it. They got enough other bodies there. So I'm going to have him in a few lineups, but I'm going to cap him at like 5%. I'm building multiple lineups here on DK next. And I did put 20 head-to-heads in the $1 lobby, username EMac. Enjoy. Go grab those and have some fun. So let's kind of talk about Brady at the top here. He's 45, turned 45 last month, led the league in damn near every passing category last year. This is year 21 in the NFL. We know exactly what we're getting here. New coach, but it's the former defensive coordinator. At this point, Brady's doing whatever he wants to do. So that is really not going to change the play calling. They're a pass first offense. We know all of this. Todd Bowles, kind of funny. He was a 4-year starting defensive back under Bruce Arians at Temple, of all things. And then he's coached under him in a couple different spots.
Todd from my old company when I was selling IT services was his teammate. And used to, when he had the Jets job, he would call him on the phone and text him, "Good luck." And the guy would be like, "Who is this?"
Very nice. Very nice. So that's kind of the change there. Running back is Leonard Fournette. We've got Rachaad White, the rookie. Keyshawn Vaughn is inactive. Gio Bernard is the vet. We saw James Cook fumble in his lone touch on Thursday, never to be seen again. Who knows what happens there? And then we'll get to the receivers. Nick, what are your initial thoughts on this? Is it worth going to Rachaad White or Gio Bernard in any situation for this, in your opinion?
Yeah, if I was ever going to go super down play, I'd probably just play Giovanni Bernard. If I'm being honest with you, I don't really know what to think about Rachaad White. I think coming out of college, he's a pretty talented player, but I just don't know if he'll be in that good of a position to really put a lot out there in week number 1 of the season. Now, maybe we're sitting here in week 10, then maybe Rachaad White is the clear number 2 running back on the team. But I think if you want to take stabs, you could take stabs on Gio Bernard.
All right. And then moving on down, what do you think of the pass catchers? Of course, they've kind of said we're going to look to backfill Gronkowski with more to the running backs, more to the receivers. They brought in Rudolph in the offseason. Clearly, he's inactive tonight. He only has, I think he had 1 touchdown each of the last 2 years. I think he played like 25 games between his time with the Vikings and the Giants. So, he never really turned into much, and now he's not even active. We've mentioned a little bit on Otten, but Cameron Brate, only once in the last 4 years has he had more than 300 passing yards, and that year it was like 400. He gets about 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns a year. It's not like he's a plug and play for Gronk. And even though he has familiarity both with Brady for 2 seasons and then, the team prior to that, this just doesn't feel like a good idea. We seem to talk about him a lot. Why? Because this team is always on primetime games. So he's in our collective conscience. He's just not very good. Or he's not bad, but he's not productive. What are your thoughts on the pass catchers? And then Terry, you can weigh in on anything, Tam.
Yeah, it's sad that we missed out on Bucs legend OJ Howard, who scored 2 touchdowns for the Texans today. That was a big miss. Not having him tonight. But we didn't mention Ko Kieft, the 3rd string tight end on the Buccaneers, who went to Minnesota. 6th-round pick last year, but in reality, we don't actually need to talk about him. I just want to give my opinion on Chris Godwin because I got a lot of questions today for redraft about Chris Godwin. I told everyone and their mother to sit him, but I do think in DFS, there is a chance that he gets in on the 10-yard line. They just throw one up to Godwin, he catches it, and that's all you really need. So I'm definitely in with playing Godwin tonight. And I'm very interested to see what happens with Russell Gage because Gage has been banged up over the last couple of weeks. So I'm a little bit cautious when it comes to Russell Gage as well. I really like Julio tonight.
Yep, and Gage was dealing with the hamstring issue. Godwin, of course, tore the ACL and MCL, so that's his recovery. Terry, what are your thoughts on the Buccaneers? So much is different, yet so much is the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're dealing with, right? We know the pedigree of some of the guys like a Julio coming in. We kind of know what he does on the field. Like Nick was saying before, it seems like they want to use him in that spot where he's going to be a big red zone target. But I totally agree, and that's the exact angle I was going to take on this. That Godwin spot to me is still interesting, particularly for these large field tournaments. If people are going to be concerned about it and go away from him, that's the exact time that I want to go to a player of that caliber when people are just jumping off because of this unknown, because of this fear, right? We don't necessarily know how healthy he is. So yeah, it might go completely bust, but I'm willing to take that shot for the massive upside that comes with a potentially even 80% Godwin who's playing on just a few of the snaps in the right situations, those high leverage, big situations where he's near the end zone, where he's potentially going to score on the play. Absolutely sign me up for some tournament shares of Godwin there. So I'm completely down with that play as well. And I think it's an interesting spot. We've obviously got a ton of passing volume to work with here. The discount tight ends are super interesting. So yeah, it's an interesting spot. And I wouldn't not play Brait. We've seen him catch balls in the end zone in the past. We've seen him outplay OJ Howard in the past, and then Gronk came in and kind of knocked them both out of the box in terms of any targets or anything in the last few years. So maybe he gets a few red zone looks as well. But I think Kyle Rudolph would have certainly been the more interesting spot there. So we'll see how that goes. But the wideouts would definitely be more my focus, I think, unless you're really looking for that salary discount.
All right. Nick, we're going to go back to you here. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and a whole bunch of question marks here. Michael Gallup is out with the knee injury. Washington is out. I think it's an ankle. I can't remember for sure, but an ankle. Obviously, Amari Cooper is off in Cleveland. We've got Noah Brown with a little familiarity in the system. We've got Dalton Schultz. I know you're going to talk about Dalton Schultz here one more time, but how are you feeling about that? A revamped offensive line without 3 of their last year's starters, 2 left in free agency, and then their left tackle is hurt. Again, he's probably going to be out for 2, if not 3 months. They hope to have him back towards the last quarter of the season, but that's unfortunate. What do you want to do with your macro view here of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm genuinely sad that Jalen Tolbert isn't playing. As someone who invested heavily into Jalen Tolbert in best ball this year, it's going to look like pretty bad for me. But at the end of the day here, I think that this is going to be a situation where I think that if I was going to take a bet on one of these guys outside of Lamb and Schultz, kind of the obvious pieces, I would probably go with Noah Brown. We've seen Noah Brown before, and I think that he is a pretty decent player. Now, it's kind of sad they don't have Cedric Wilson anymore, because then you could just bang the drum aggressively for Cedric Wilson in that spot. But here, I would say that if I was going to play anyone outside of those main guys, I would go with Noah Brown. We saw a couple of games last year where he was just about okay. 6 for 9 for 53 up against the Raiders last year. So he can definitely get it done in this spot, I think.
All right. We've got, let's see, we just did another projection update here. I don't see anything dramatically changing. They're probably just tightening
change, right? Nobody scratched last minute or anything.
I think
just now moving lineups over. I just realized that Tolbert was still in my pool, so I'm rerunning everything. It's a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah, they've got. You know what? We've got Simi Fehoko up to 6 DK points. We've got Rashad White at 5.7. Ryan. Oops, I'm looking at too many teams because Ryan Griffin not.
That's somebody we haven't talked about. Rashad White.
Yeah. I don't really know that we want to go to him. I had him. I mean, I'm messing around with my cash game.
I mean, 150 entries, large field tournaments. We got to be considering plays like that, right?
Yes, we do. You know, he's reasonable. He's 2,400. I mean, it perfectly fits my look here. And my question is, do I leave $2,200 on the table, which I really don't care about at this point, and go with Simi, or do I go with Rashad White as my last man in? So I don't know. That's kind of a good question, but you're right. We should cover White a little bit more. I'm guessing he is going to. Gio Bernard and Leonard Fournette are both capable pass catchers, so it's more likely that we'll see the rookie kind of as the change of pace guy, or just see what we have. When you're in a role kind of like that, you got to see what would be his best paths to victory or to success in the game. And that would be Tampa Bay playing with the lead, getting him some reps. Maybe he gets a few fourth quarter drives, right? That's probably his best path.
Yeah, that I think would get very interesting.
Yes, and that's where I kind of like him better than Fehoko, because I can't really do anything else with the money, because I'm going to keep Noah Brown here. I think
now with the Vegas data where it is with the close line in this game, is that something that you're going to potentially target with some lineups, or is that something you're kind of ruling out because you don't expect them to be playing with that big a lead?
I think they're going to blow out Dallas.
Okay, so you think Tampa's going to run this up, and
I think they win by double digits.
Okay, all right. Put your money where your mouth is on that one.
My money is in play. Yes, yes, it is. So we'll see. You know, I thought some other things were going to happen today that did not come to fruition, but we'll see. But I'm kind of scripting for that particular outcome. I think we go the under, though. I just think the Tampa Bay defense is going to control Dallas. I think Dallas has the potential to probably try to slow the clock a little bit here with Elliott and potentially with Pollard, just kind of trying to run the ball. So I think it's the aim small, miss small for them. That's not how Tampa Bay plays. They're going to pass 60% of the time. Yeah. Just so the byproduct, like
a 34-10 kind of a game.
Something along those lines.
It's the under, but Tampa still blows it up.
Correct.
I can see that.
So in that kind of a situation, then I can see White getting in play there. So I'll put him in my cash game. There we go. Looks like there's still about 7 lineups that have not been claimed in the DK lobby. $1. Have some fun. Team free money back this season. Username.
Go get him, guys. You heard how wrong he is about the game. I mean, go get it.
I've kind of told you 4 of the 6 players. If you guys read my article,
they're in.
I rank everybody. You can kind of figure out what my cash game lineups are going to be. But it's fun. I used to worry about those being duplicated all the time. It's not the case. And frankly, when you're playing a bunch of people, they usually it's rare that I ever have the exact same lineup with somebody, unless it's a Lamar Jackson game where it's just like, you got to get him in, and then it hamstrings you in a bunch of other cases. But I've been very pleasantly surprised. Plus, if I do these right before the show and tell all you guys to grab them, then it's fun, right? And then you can make fun of me, or DM me or whatever, and we can laugh. And then if I win, you just pretend it never happened and don't talk about it. So those things you don't talk about on parties, but deep down inside, you want to beat me. We'll see. Terry, anything else you want to hit on here for the macro level of Dallas? What is your? You seemed a little shocked by my potential game script. What is your thoughts here?
I think it could be a somewhat pass happy. I mean, if the Cowboys are going to keep up, it's most likely going to be pass happy unless we have one of those games where Zeke does just kind of bust loose, or maybe we get the Tony Pollard game. But I think it's going to be mostly airborne. I just like the idea of Dallas kind of keeping up with Tampa. We haven't seen a ton of Brady. He might not be fully up to speed. We don't know exactly how the Tampa offense is going to come out in this one. So I like it maybe to be a little bit closer than you're thinking. The under, I think, is probably still a good idea, but I do think it's going to be mostly through the air. And I could see a little bit of scoring in a competitive game while still tracking toward the under, most likely on the overall board there. I don't think it's going to blow up on both sides, and I don't really think either one runs away with it. Just kind of more a week one and knocking some of the rust off kind of a thing for me.
All right. That sort of makes sense. All right, let's look on over a few things that we have. We do have the No House Advantage sign up coming in on our link. It's right there below us, and you can get a $25 deposit match. That is always helpful. We also have the BetMGM. Again, that link is below us here in the description of the YouTube video here. That also that ends today. They ran this out one more time. This is their true no-brainer. It's the gimme that if you bet $10 coming in on this promo code, you will win $200 because teams scored touchdowns today. That was the only caveat. You get a $10 money line bet on tonight's game, and if any team scores a touchdown today, which we already know they have, and they'll probably will tonight as well, you get $200. That goes away. They have kind of made it known that they're not going to do too many of those this year, so we'll see. So don't wait too long to get in on that one. We also, of course, have let's see, the No House Advantage has some pick'ems. That's going to have tremendous overlay right now. That barely will get half full. So you want to check that out over there. And then they also have some props. We'll talk about them as well. All righty. Where did I want to, where can I find this? And then promo code Scramble. That gets you $7, 7 days for $7 of the Stokastic premium content. All right, Terry, if you go to my run sheet, you will see I have listed out all of the different props that are available right now on No House Advantage. I've put the Awesemo projection next to it, and then the percentage likelihood of success. I'm going to spend a moment crunching a few lineups. Do you want to kind of walk through with Nick and talk through any of those that you like?
Sure, because
let's take it. The passing yard.
I mean, just to give you the credit for having put so much effort into the run sheet that nobody looks at. Yeah, we've got to take a look at it and use it. I mean, so let me open it up and scroll on over to that and find where you put it in this run sheet that I definitely am familiar with. And
it's on the second page.
There we go. All right, let's see. So that's the Vegas data. Here we go. This is the promo stuff. So, all right, let's take a look. We talked just, throughout the show and kind of just a minute ago, I was talking about how I think it's going to be kind of an airborne game. So, EMac, these are first one is the
first one is the line,
then our projection, then the
and then it's our projection and the percentage.
So what do we think? What do we think? The Dak one is pretty close, and it's a 57%, but we get a nice percentage on Brady. What do you think on Brady with a 274.5 for the over under for pass yards?
I like it. I definitely like it. I think Tom Brady, now there's obviously that narrative about how his wife wants to divorce him and all that, but I don't think that really gets to Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady is like an alien. He's like a robot. He's a machine. Like, he eats fucking avocado toast every day. Like, he doesn't care. So he's just gonna, even if his wife is mad at him, he'll go kiss his son, and he's gonna throw for over 274.5 yards. So I love Brady over 274.5 yards, honestly.
Hey,
we have that at 64% chance.
Also,
yeah, I think that one.
If Giselle leaves him, she's the breadwinner, so he gets the settlement. He's wanting the divorce at this point, I'm pretty sure. Like, I would be.
He's going to take her for half of what she's worth.
She didn't get a prenup, I guess. She messed up.
And the sick thing is the way that he competes and everything, he probably will do exactly that. Like, he'll pursue every last legal dollar that he's entitled to. That's a good call. Jeez. But yeah, overall, I think 64% are on our board, 309 and that 309 and a quarter, 309.25 yards for him on the board here. So I think that's kind of an easy one to push through on the Stokastic board there. What about Lenny Fournette? Looks like we've got him on the under of 55.5 coming through about 65% of the time. Any interest in the under for Lenny Fournette? He was a guy that you brought up, and it sounded like you like him a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I definitely do like him. I think the number is pretty fair. A lot of what Lenny did last year was in the receiving game, which is kind of what slightly worries me when it comes to Rachaad White, when we were talking about a little bit earlier. Like, I think maybe there's a chance that when they're talking about limiting Leonard Fournette, that means that they are trying not to dump the ball off as much to him, and instead they give it to Rachaad White. But over 55.5 is probably something I wouldn't touch. I think this is very close. He's probably either going to get 50 to 60 yards, I would say, is his range. So if I don't see him blowing that out of the water or just going drastically under, I don't really want to take it.
Okay. And then we've got another one on the board here, a guy that's come up a ton and I think is going to be, kind of a linchpin guy, not only for this game, but all season long for the Cowboys, for a lot of season long teams and DFS slates. Tony Pollard sitting at a 30.5 rushing yard over under. We've got him at 31.96. So that's a really thin line. Which side of that would you be on?
For Pollard, I would definitely go closer with the over. Again, this is a game that Zeke really struggled in last time out. And this was prior to when Zeke basically turned into where he was just hurt all the time, right? He got hurt early on in the season, and then he just could not recover. Here with Zeke fully healthy, week 1 that time didn't do too well. I don't think he'll do too well this week either, but I think Pollard has more explosiveness in him. So I would go with Pollard on the over 30.5.
Okay, let's go